I dragged my suitcase and stood at the door of Sophia Taylor's study, gently knocking 3 times. Come in. Her voice came from inside, carrying a hint more fatigue than usual. Pushing the door open, Sophia was sitting behind a large desk with a document spread out in front of her. Sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling window, outlining the delicate contours of her profile. But her brows furrowed slightly, and her fingertips tapped the table unconsciously, as if she was pondering something troublesome. I stood still, maintaining just the right distance. Not too distant, nor overly close. This was the posture befitting Gregory Miller. "Miss Sophia, I'm here to sign the termination agreement," I reminded her calmly. She looked up at me, her gaze complex, as if trying to detect some emotional fluctuation on my face. But unfortunately, she could only see a face that perfectly matched the Gregory Miller persona. Gentle, aloof, impeccable. Have a seat." She pointed to the chair opposite her. I sat down, my gaze falling on the documents on the table. It was a termination of employment agreement, with a check placed beside it. I glanced at the amount, which was 20% more than what was stipulated in the contract. "This is extra compensation." Sophia's voice was calm, as if deliberately suppressing some emotion. "After all, you've done very well these past 3 years." I smiled slightly, picked up the pen, and without hesitation, signed my name on the document. Ethan Johnson. "Thank you, Miss Sophia. It's been a pleasure working with you." She stared at my signing hand, then suddenly spoke. "Don't have anything to say." My pen paused, and I looked up at her, raising an eyebrow, slightly in confusion. "What does Miss Sophia want me to say?" She pressed her lips together, her eyes flickering for a moment, then finally just shook her head. "Nothing." I closed the file, pushed it back to her, then picked up the check, carefully folded it, and put it into the inner pocket of my suit. The movement was smooth, without a trace of hesitation. "The final payment will be transferred to your account on time by the finance department," she added. "All right. Thank you, Miss Sophia." I stood up, nodded slightly, and prepared to leave. "Ethan," she suddenly called out to me. I turned around. "Yes?" She opened her mouth, as if wanting to say something, but in the end only whispered, "It's nothing. Be careful on the road." I smiled and nodded. "Okay, Miss Sophia, you too take care." Turn around, push the door, leave. The whole process flowed smoothly, without a trace of delay. Stepping out of the study, I exhaled softly, inner monologue. Perfect finish. Final payment plus extra bonus, a total win. Next, I can give myself a little break, or just go straight for the next job. I dragged my suitcase downstairs. The servants in the villa all glanced sideways, but no one dared to ask more. After all, everyone knew I was just a stand-in. Now that the real owner had returned, the stand-in naturally had to step aside. Reaching the entrance hall, I took one last look around this luxury home where I had lived for 3 years, feeling no attachment at all. After all, this was never my home. It was merely an office for a high-paying job. I pushed open the door, sunlight shining on my face. I squinted, feeling cheerful as I took out my phone and dialed a number. "Hey Joe, help me check if there are any new stand-in gigs recently. Prioritize the high-paying ones." A teasing laugh came from the other end of the line. "Yo, Mr. Ethan, already looking for the next client? So soon? Is it over with Sophia?" I chuckled softly. "Yeah, the original is back. I'm honorably retired." "Okay, I'll keep an eye out for you." After hanging up, I strode toward the roadside and hailed a taxi. "Driver to downtown Los Angeles." The car started moving. In the rearview mirror, Sophia's villa grew more distant until it finally disappeared from sight. I leaned back in the seat, closed my eyes, and felt completely at ease inside. The first rule of being a stand-in: never get too deep into the role. And I, Ethan Johnson, have always been a rule-abiding person. I sat on the sofa in my newly rented apartment, holding a can of cold beer, scrolling through my phone out of sheer boredom. The screen showed financial news about Taylor Group, with a picture of Sophia in a black evening gown, linking arms with Gregory Miller as they attended a high-end cocktail party. The man was dressed sharply in a suit, his smile confident. I scoffed, swiping my finger to open another notification. Rising artist Gregory Miller appears alongside the president of Taylor Group, sparking rumors of an impending good event. The comments section is bustling with activity. Talented man and beautiful woman. Miss Sophia has finally waited for this moment. I heard Gregory is doing very well abroad. Is he back this time for a marriage alliance? Wasn't there a rumor before that Miss Sophia had a look-alike stand-in for Gregory? Now that the real one is back, shouldn't the stand-in get lost? I tilted my head back and gulped a mouthful of beer, the icy liquid sliding down my throat, leaving my heart completely unmoved. Stunt double rule number 2. Never follow the gossip about a former employer after leaving the job, unless you're really bored. Just as I was about to close the page, my phone suddenly vibrated, and a text from an unknown number popped up. Mr. Ethan, you left something at the villa. Is it convenient for you to come and pick it up? I frowned, recalling the luggage I had when I left. Clothes, documents, personal items, nothing missing. What is it? I replied. The other party replied quickly. A painting. The one you previously left in the studio. I was momentarily stunned, then remembered. It was a watercolor I casually painted when I first moved into Sophia's villa, and later Sophia saw it and insisted on hanging it in the studio. No need, just throw it away. I typed out a reply. The other party was silent for a moment, then finally sent a message. No, Mr. Ethan, Miss Sophia said, you have to come pick it up yourself, otherwise we have to compensate for the loss. I stared at the screen and suddenly burst out laughing. Is this, want to see me? At the same time, Sophia's villa. Gregory frowned and slammed a glass of red wine onto the coffee table, the spilled liquid staining the expensive wool carpet red. This wine is too astringent. Change the bottle. His tone was impatient as his gaze swept over the butler standing nearby. Is there number 1982 Lafayette? The butler lowered his head. Mr. Gregory, the 1982 stock has already... Forget it, just make do. Gregory waved his hand as if bestowing a favor, then turned to complain to Sophia, who was looking at documents. Your household servants are really inefficient. When I was in Paris, the butler in the manor never made such basic mistakes. Sophia paused, then looked up. She looked at Gregory, this face that had once been idealized to the utmost in her memory, but now made her feel a trace of unfamiliarity. When his eyebrows furrowed, it was different from Ethan's. When he drank red wine, the way he held the glass was different from Ethan's. Even when he complained, the arrogance in his tone was completely different from Ethan's teasing helplessness. Also, Ethan would never really lose his temper with the servants. This thought suddenly popped up, and Sophia was momentarily stunned herself. Sophia, are you listening? Gregory waved his hand in front of her eyes. She snapped back to reality and forced a smile. Yeah, go ahead. My friend has an art exhibition next week and needs sponsorship. Can you arrange it for me? His tone was matter-of-fact, as if the funds of Taylor Group were pocket money he could casually spend. Sophia was silent for a long time. Okay. Gregory smiled with satisfaction, leaned in to hug her, but she subtly avoided him. I'll go to the study to handle some matters first. She stood up and walked away quickly. At the corner of the corridor, Sophia stopped, her fingers unconsciously pressing her stomach. The familiar stinging sensation returned again. For the past 3 years, whenever she overworked and her stomach ailment flared up, there was always a pair of hands that would timely offer warm water and pills. That person even remembered her dislike for the bitter taste of the pills and would place a small slice of lemon on the rim of the cup each time. She instinctively opened her mouth. Ethan, the moment the name was spoken, she froze. In the empty corridor, there was only her own shadow. Sophia has regrets in the end. I still went to Sophia's villa. It's not that I'm particularly attached to that painting. I just simply don't want to make things difficult for the servants inside. After all, I've been with them for 3 years. The butler took me to the side room and said Miss Sophia was receiving guests, asking me to wait a moment. I leaned against the sofa, looking around bored and listless. I've stayed in this place for 3 years. I could walk through every corner with my eyes closed, but now it strangely feels unfamiliar. The spot on the wall where my watercolor used to hang now holds a bold and colorful abstract painting. Typical Gregory style, flamboyant and exaggerated. Ethan. I turned around, and Sophia was standing at the door, dressed in a neat professional suit, holding a brown paper bag. Her makeup was still exquisite, but there was a faint bluish tint under her eyes, as if she hadn't slept well for a long time. Miss Sophia. I stood up and nodded politely. Sorry to bother you. She walked in and handed me the paper bag. Your painting? I took it over and glanced at it casually. It was indeed my watercolor painting, depicting a corner of Sophia's villa backyard, with sunlight filtering through the leaves onto the stone steps. I originally painted it just to pass the time, never expected she still kept it. Thank you. I stuffed the painting back into the paper bag. If there's nothing else, I'll be going now. Wait. She suddenly called out to me. How have you been? She asked stiffly, as if she had been holding back for a long time before finally saying this. I smiled. Pretty good, getting ready to take on a new job. Another stand-in, her brows unconsciously furrowed. Yeah, the old job. I said casually, I heard it's the eldest daughter of the Martinez family. Pretty well off. The eldest daughter of the Martinez family? Luna Martinez. Sophia's voice turned strange. I raised an eyebrow. Miss Sophia knows her? She didn't answer, just stared at me intently, her eyes becoming complex, making me a little confused. She suddenly spoke. Ethan, you don't have to do this. I looked at her in confusion. I can arrange other work for you. Her voice was a bit hurried. Taylor owns a gallery, or if you want to be an independent artist, that's fine too. I'll provide the funding. Miss Sophia, I interrupted her, but our contract has already ended, and you were the one who personally canceled it. She was stunned, not knowing how to respond. At that moment, Gregory's voice came from the hallway. Sophia, where did you put the invitation to the auction? Footsteps approached, and Gregory strode into the side room. He visibly froze for a moment when he saw me. Who are you? Before I could speak, Sophia stood up. He is a picture frame supplier. I replied calmly, shaking the craft paper bag in my hand. Here, to deliver samples. Gregory eyed me suspiciously for a few seconds, then suddenly sneered. Now even delivery people wear haute couture? I looked down at the suit I was wearing. It was indeed expensive, bought last time when I accompanied Sophia to a dinner, chosen according to Gregory's style. The industry is fiercely competitive, I replied with a smile. After all, not everyone can rely on their looks to make a living like Mr. Gregory. Gregory's expression instantly darkened, about to lose his temper. Sophia suddenly spoke up. Gregory, the invitation to the auction is in the second drawer of the study. Her tone was indisputable. Gregory glared at me and left sullenly. The side room fell silent once again. You don't have to do this, Sophia said softly. What is it? I played dumb. She took a deep breath. Ethan, A sudden phone ring interrupted her words. I took out my phone, the screen showing Miss Luna. Sorry, just need to take this call. I pressed the answer button. Hello, Miss Luna? Luna's clear voice came from the other end of the line. Mr. Ethan, don't forget the interview at 3 p.m. tomorrow. I specifically clear my entire afternoon. Her voice was neither too loud nor too soft, just enough for Sophia to hear clearly. Okay, I'll be there on time. I smiled and hung up the phone, looking at Sophia. Well then, Miss Sophia, if there's nothing else. Sophia's face was terrifyingly pale. She opened her mouth, but in the end only nodded stiffly. Okay. I turned and left. Just as I reached the door, I suddenly heard the sound of something breaking. Looking back, Sophia stood in place, a shattered teacup at her feet. Her hand hung in midair, trembling slightly. Sorry, her voice was so soft it was almost inaudible. I slipped. I said nothing, just nodded and walked away briskly. When I walked out of Sophia's villa gate, I took out my phone and sent a message to Luna. Interview tomorrow. What do I need to prepare? She replied instantly. Just bring yourself. Immediately after, another message came. Oh right, remember to wear your favorite blue shirt. It suits you well. I stared at the screen, frowning. I do have a blue shirt I really like, but how could she know? For new boss, new mystery, I stood in front of the glass curtain wall of the Martinez Group building, adjusting the collar of my blue shirt. Luna's assistant was already waiting for me downstairs, a young woman wearing glasses. Mr. Ethan? Miss Luna is waiting for you on the 28th floor. The elevator ascended steadily, and I looked down at the cityscape through the glass curtain wall, feeling completely calm inside. I am very familiar with the process of stand-in auditions, face evaluation, photo comparison, testing the similarity of speech and behavior, and finally negotiating the price. We've arrived. The elevator doors silently slid open, revealing a spacious office comparable to an art gallery. In front of a full wall of floor-to-ceiling windows, Luna stood with her back to me, trimming the branches of a green plant. She turned around, the sunlight shining from behind her, and for a moment, I felt she was like an angel. Ethan, she paused right on time. Only then did I clearly see her appearance. Chestnut short hair, bright and sharp features, dressed in a neatly tailored white suit. Miss Luna, I nodded in greeting. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. She chuckled softly and casually handed the scissors to the assistant. Opportunities are something you fight for yourself. She stepped closer, her gaze openly appraising me. Blue really suits you. I frowned slightly. Have you seen me before? Sort of. She answered ambiguously, then turned and walked toward the reception area. Sit. Snacks were already arranged on the coffee table, and I noticed the plate of mint lemon candies, my personal favorite little treat. Have you gone through the materials? She asked. Not yet. Then let's talk first. She suddenly leaned in, close enough for me to catch the faint scent of her perfume. Do you know why I chose you? Because I look like the person you're looking for? She chuckled softly, pulled a folder out of the drawer, and pushed it in front of me. Take a look. I opened it, and inside was a white moonlight stand-in employment agreement. The terms were much more detailed than Sophia's, and the pay was 30% higher. But what surprised me most was the attachment. The information on the white moonlight was surprisingly sparse, with only a few characteristic descriptions. Used to spinning a pen with the left hand, skilled in watercolor painting. Especially enjoys painting light and shadow, addicted to mint lemon candy, has a subtle small dimple on the right cheek. My fingers unconsciously touch my right cheek. These features overlap with mine by as much as 90%. Miss Luna, I closed the file. Are you sure you're looking for a body double? She rested her chin on her hand, her eyes curved like crescent moons. Why? These features. Looks a lot like you, right? She took over the conversation. That's why I chose you. I stared into her eyes, trying to find a flaw, but her smile was flawless. Can I ask a question? I said, where's your white moonlight now? A very far place. Her smile disappeared. Broke up. More complicated than that. She stood up and walked to the floor-to-ceiling window. Ethan, this job is simple. Just be yourself. I almost laughed out loud. Then this money is way too easy to make. Is it? She looked back at me. Then why do you always like to paint a 4-leaf clover in the bottom right corner when you do watercolors? I suddenly froze. I've had this habit since I was a child, but I've never told anyone, not even Sophia. Could it be that her white moonlight also likes to paint like this? You. Move to Luna's villa tomorrow. She interrupted me, her tone leaving no room for doubt. The contract is for 1 year, with a monthly salary of $30,000 and additional bonuses depending on performance. I hadn't yet recovered from the shock just now when she had already pressed the internal phone. Assistant Parker, take Mr. Ethan to see his new room. Luna's villa is more modest than I imagined. It is a Chinese-style villa with a courtyard. My room is on the east side of the second floor, with excellent lighting, and right outside the window stands a cherry blossom tree in full bloom. This room has been empty. Assistant Parker opened the door, but Miss Luna comes to clean it personally every week. I walked into the room and at first glance saw the easel by the window. The arrangement of the paint boxes beside it was exactly the same as the way we do it at my home. Various painting tools were neatly displayed on the desk. I casually picked up a fountain pen and instinctively twirled it around my fingertip with my left hand. Mr. Ethan. Assistant Parker hesitated at the door, about to speak. Miss Luna said, you can look around freely, except for the locked room at the very back of the third floor. I raised an eyebrow. Why? That's her treasure room. He pushed up his glasses. She even cleans it herself. After Assistant Parker left, I stood in the center of the room, suddenly feeling a strange sense of familiarity. The layout of this room, the view outside the window, even a few art books casually placed on the bookshelf, all seemed copied and pasted from my memory. 5 strange Sophia raindrops hit the iron railing in the apartment corridor, producing a crisp sound. I was holding a toothbrush in my mouth and almost swallowed the toothpaste foam when I saw Sophia outside the door, drenched from head to toe, through the peephole. She didn't have an umbrella. Her hair tips were still dripping with water, and she was tightly holding a delicate gift box in her arms. I opened the door. Miss Sophia? She looked up. This was the first time I saw Sophia like this. Without exquisite makeup, without an arrogant demeanor, like an ordinary person who had lost their way. Can I come in and talk? She asked. I stepped aside to let her in and casually tossed her a dry towel. The entire 50-square-meter bachelor apartment was in full view. She stood in the center of the living room, drying her hair with a towel. You live here? She looked around, frowning slightly. Yeah, it's close to the subway station. I walked into the bathroom and spat out the toothpaste foam. But I'm moving out soon. I pointed to the suitcase in the corner. Miss Sophia, what a pleasure to have you here. What's up? Moving out. She took a deep breath. That's good. After all, this place is too small. Then she placed the velvet gift box on the coffee table and pushed it toward me. This is for you. I opened the box, and inside was a Patek Philippe watch. The dial gleamed brilliantly under the light. What does this mean? Last time, it was my fault. She paused. Gregory is not the kind of person I imagined. I leaned against the kitchen doorframe, looking at her soaked collar. In the past 3 years, I have seen Sophia in many different ways. Sharp and assertive at the negotiation table, elegant and composed at dinner parties, but this disheveled and cautious woman in front of me was so unfamiliar that it made me feel very strange. So, come back. She suddenly looked up. This time you don't have to play anyone, just be Ethan. The pay is doubled, no, tripled. She pulled a blank check out of her bag. You fill in the amount yourself. The sound of rain outside suddenly grew louder. I stared at the check, suddenly remembering that 3 years ago when we first met, she also pushed a contract over like this. The tone was unequivocal. Sign it. And from today on, you are Gregory Miller. Now, what does she want to buy back with money again? The phone suddenly vibrated in my pocket. I took it out and saw a text message. Mr. Ethan, I am Luna's assistant. When will you move over tomorrow? Do you need me to pick you up? The screen was too bright, and Sophia's gaze immediately shifted to my phone. Got the new job settled? Her voice trembled a little. Yeah. I shoved the phone back into my pocket. A stand-in, the old trade. Is it really Luna Martinez? She suddenly stood up, the gift box falling to the ground. Do you know who she is? She, Miss Sophia. I interrupted her, bent down to pick up the watch worth millions, and put it back in her hand. I said on the day the contract ended, we're even. I can pay more. She stubbornly repeated, no matter how much. Now it was my turn to be confused. It hasn't even been a few days, so why has Sophia suddenly become like this? Gregory's white moonlight filter shattered? I suddenly feel incredibly exhausted. 3 years have passed, and in her eyes, I will always be a product with a price tag. It's not about the money. I walked to the door and opened the security door. I wish you find the person you truly want. The sound of rain howled into the stairwell. Sophia stood still in place. If, she whispered, if the person I want is you. The hand I had on the doorknob froze. This was Sophia's first and only, almost straightforward plea to stay. The sensor light in the stairwell suddenly went out, leaving only her rapid breathing in the darkness. I reached out and flicked the switch, and the moment the light returned, I saw her reddened eyes. Too late, Miss Sophia, I heard myself say. I've already signed a new contract and will be moving in tomorrow. She staggered, as if all her strength had been drained by those words. In the end, she grabbed the bag on the sofa and rushed into the rain without looking back. I closed the door and noticed something new on the floor, that Patek Philippe. The second hand on the dial ticked in increments like some kind of countdown. Golden Joy Hotel. I looked around in boredom. These business cocktail parties were never my scene, but Luna insisted I come. Don't be nervous, she whispered in my ear. Just think of it as part of the job. Today she wore a black backless mermaid dress, her chestnut short hair tucked behind her ear, revealing a sharp jawline. From the moment we entered, countless eyes were glued to her, but she paid them no mind, her right hand resting on my arm the entire time. Miss Luna, I lower my voice. Are you sure this is appropriate? What? She raised an eyebrow. Afraid someone will see? No sooner had she spoken than I felt a sharp gaze. Through the bustling crowd, I saw Sophia standing at the other end of the banquet hall, gripping her wine glass tightly. Gregory was standing beside her, leaning down to talk to an investor with a flattering expression. Luna followed my gaze and curled a playful smile at the corner of her mouth. Ah, what a coincidence. Not only did she not let go, but she also started to straighten my tie even more aggressively. This action was way too intimate. Miss Luna, I called out. Don't move, she said softly. Your tie is crooked. I froze awkwardly in place, catching a glimpse of Sophia's face turning pale in an instant. She suddenly tilted her head back and downed a whole glass of champagne, then turned and walked away. Happy now? I looked at Luna helplessly. She tilted her head, revealing an innocent yet sly smile. What? I'm just fulfilling my employer's duty, making sure my white moonlight looks dignified. Just then, the waiter passed by, and Luna took 2 glasses of champagne, handing me one. Try this, a 1996 Cook, you might like it. I took the glass and suddenly realized something was off. I never said I liked Cook. Oh, she took a sip of wine. That's why I asked you to have a taste. After several rounds of drinks, Luna was caught up by a few investors discussing projects. I used the excuse of getting some fresh air and went out to the terrace. The night breeze carried the chill of early autumn, dispersing some of the alcohol's scent. You're really quick at finding an ex-client, huh? Sophia's voice sounded coldly from behind. I turned around and saw her leaning against a Roman column. Under the moonlight, she looked particularly haggard. Miss Sophia, I nodded in greeting. She suddenly strode over. Do you know who Luna is? My employer. She is the only daughter of the Martinez conglomerate. Sophia said in a trembling whisper. She just snatched 2 major projects for the Taylor Group last month. Do you really think she came to you because of some white moonlight? She's using you to get back at me. I quietly looked at her and suddenly found it a bit funny. Miss Sophia, not everyone revolves around you. She was stunned. Ethan, Sophia frowned. You never used to talk to me like this. Because I used to be Gregory Millard. I smiled. Now I am Ethan Johnson. Sophia frowned, clearly dissatisfied with my answer. Just then, the terrace door suddenly opened, and Luna came out, greeting me. So you're here. She saw Sophia, paused for a moment, then naturally linked her arm with mine. Miss Sophia, what a coincidence. Sophia's gaze fixed tightly on Luna, linking her arm with me, her face turning very unpleasant. Luna Martinez, she said angrily, don't think I don't know what you're up to. Luna blinked, looking innocent. What ideas could I possibly have? I just hired an employee I liked. She suddenly leaned close to my ear and said, just loud enough for Sophia to hear, right, darling? Sophia was stunned once again. Excuse me. Sophia clenched her anger and turned to leave. Luna looked at her back and suddenly sighed, so pitiful. She still hasn't realized, Luna said slyly, tilting her head back to finish the remaining champagne, that you are the one she's been looking for all along. What the heck? 7 decision in the rain, the late autumn rain, came suddenly and cold. I had just stepped out of the Martinez building, the umbrella not yet opened, when a figure suddenly rushed right in front of me. Sophia's car was parked crookedly by the roadside, and the car door wasn't properly closed. Ethan, her voice was hoarse, and her eyes were bloodshot. I instinctively took a half step back, and this movement seemed to hurt her. Miss Sophia, are you really that low? She suddenly grabbed my wrist. Why do you want to be Luna's stand-in? Do you even know who Luna is? She's just playing you. Raindrops dripped down from the tips of her hair. I have never seen Sophia like this. Out of control, hysterical, like a gambler who has lost everything. Come back, she shouted loudly, with a sick obsession. I'll support you, no matter how much. Whoa, does she really think I'm some kept man? Miss Sophia, please have some self-respect, I replied with a smile. She staggered back half a step. My career choices are not for you to judge. I took out my phone and showed Martinez's work ID. A legal employment relationship in black and white. Employment. She suddenly laughed sharply. Do you really think Luna sees you as an employee? The way she looks at you. Miss Sophia. A cold, clear voice cut in. Luna's black Maybach had stopped by the roadside without anyone noticing. The car door opened, and she walked over holding a black umbrella. Her high heels stepped into a puddle, splashing tiny droplets of water. What a coincidence. Luna stood beside me, her hand naturally resting on my lower back, coming to pick up my boyfriend from work, and I actually ran into Miss Sophia. Boyfriend. Sophia's voice changed. Luna smiled and nodded. Legally, it's still an employment relationship, but... She tilted her head to look at me. It won't be just that for long. The rain was falling harder and harder. Sophia stood in the rain, trembling all over, not knowing whether she was cold or angry. Her gaze was fixed tightly on the hand Luna had placed around my waist. Ethan, she suddenly said, back at the Cape Cod summer camp, because of Gregory, Sophia Taylor. Luna interrupted her. You're really foolish. Do you really think Gregory is your true love? What do you mean? Sophia looked as if struck by lightning, her face instantly turning pale. Luna didn't answer, taking the opportunity to lead me toward the car. Let's go, dear, dinner is getting cold. I glanced back once. Sophia was still standing in place, rain washing over her face, making it look like she was crying. But it was too far away, I couldn't see clearly. The moment the car door closed, Luna let out a long breath and slumped into the leather seat. How is the acting? What? Boyfriend part. She winked at me. Improvising? Hope you don't mind? I looked at her wet hair and suddenly remembered the little girl who always followed me around at the Cape Cod summer camp 12 years ago. Once when I got pinched by a crab on my hand, she also winked like that and secretly blew on my wound. Don't mind, I heard myself say. As the car drove past Sophia, Luna suddenly rolled down the window. By the way, Miss Sophia, her voice was especially clear amidst the sound of rain. That necklace around your neck. She pointed to the four-leaf clover pendant that Sophia had been wearing all along. The person who drew it is sitting right next to me now. In the rearview mirror, Sophia suddenly covered the necklace with her hand, her eyes wide with disbelief. Taylor Group, President's Office. Sophia stared at the computer screen, her thumb pressed firmly against her temple. After Luna said those strange things, it provoked her, and Sophia gradually felt uneasy. So she arranged for someone to start investigating Gregory. It turned out that ignorance was bliss. Once investigated, the discovery was shocking. Gregory had another side. In the surveillance footage provided by the investigators, Gregory was seen sneaking around, rummaging through her safe, slipping a document labeled this 7-core patent into the inner pocket of his suit. What infuriated her even more was the phone call he made immediately afterward. The stuff has been got. See you tonight at the usual place. Don't worry, that stupid woman Sophia still thinks I'm her white moonlight. His laughter was full of pride, completely different from a gentle boy who once saved her in her memories. Sophia slammed shut her laptop, her chest heaving violently. She had been deceived. A full 3 years. Where are they now? Sophia asked angrily. 3 hours later, room 1809, Hyatt Hotel. The police suddenly burst in, and Gregory, who was passionately entangled with a woman in a red dress on the bed, was stunned. The scattered documents were just left on the bedside table, not even bothering to cover them up. The flashbulbs went off instantly, capturing his panicked face in sharp detail. Sophia stood at the door, expressionless, watching him being pinned to the ground and handcuffed. Sophia, are you crazy? Gregory struggled to lift his head, his face contorted. I'm Gregory Miller, the one you've been looking for all these 10 years. Shut up. She cut him off coldly, pulling a stack of photos from her bag and throwing them in his face. Photos scattered like snowflakes. Intimate photos of him with different women, chat records of him privately mocking Sophia as stupid and rich, and the complete surveillance footage of him stealing files yesterday afternoon. These pieces of evidence are enough to keep you in prison for 10 years, she said coldly. By the way, I've already frozen all the accounts under your name. Gregory's face instantly turned pale. Sophia, I was wrong. I was just playing with her. The one I love the most has always been you. Get lost. Sophia angrily kicked him. Late at night, Sophia's villa. Sophia slumped amidst the mess on the floor, with Gregory's suitcase still by her feet, not yet taken away. She frantically rummaged through, trying to find even the slightest evidence that he might be that person, until clack. A small metal box fell out from the compartment of the suitcase. She opened it tremblingly. Inside was a faded old photo and a palm-sized watercolor painting. The photo was from a Cape Cod summer camp 12 years ago, a group of children standing by the sea. She immediately recognized herself in the corner. And the person standing next to her was definitely not Gregory. It was a boy wearing a blue t-shirt with a handsome side profile and a shallow dimple on his right cheek when he smiled. Her fingertips trembled suddenly. The watercolor painting showed a 4-leaf clover, with a small X written in pencil at the bottom right corner. I used to think X represented the unknown, but now I know it stands for the word star in Xingxing. Impossible. She murmured to herself, suddenly reaching to pull off the necklace. Miss, the old butler came in upon hearing the voice, and when he saw the photo, his eyes suddenly widened. Isn't this the little boy who saved you back then? Sophia suddenly looked up. What did you say? That's him. The old butler pointed at the boy in blue in the photo. The day you nearly drowned, he was the one who saved you. I remember very clearly. He was really good at painting and even gave you a 4-leaf clover painting. The air suddenly grew tense. Sophia's gaze slowly shifted to the signature on the watercolor painting. Xing. Ethan's Xing, the person she had been searching for 10 years, whom she personally hired as a stand-in, and then personally drove away. And now, he's by Luna's side. Boom! A bolt of lightning struck outside the window, illuminating her pale face. The next second, she grabbed the car keys and rushed into the rainy night. The heavy rain poured down, pounding loudly against the gate of Luna's villa. I put down my coffee cup and frowned as I looked at the surveillance screen. Sophia stood, drenched in the rain. Her long hair stuck to her pale face, her eyes swollen and red, frightening to see. Should I open the door? I turned to ask Luna. She leaned back on the sofa, her fingertips lightly tapping her knee, her eyes complex. You decide for yourself. On a rainy day at your doorstep, don't let anything happen. I paused. It wouldn't be good for you. Then I sighed, picked up the umbrella by the entrance, and went out. The moment the door opened, Sophia lunged at me like grabbing a lifeline, clutching my collar tightly. Luna saw it. Her face darkened. Ethan, Ethan, she cried out to me, rain mixing with tears streaming down. I was wrong. Terribly wrong. Gregory is a liar. It was you. It has always been you. She trembled as she pulled out the yellowed photo and the watercolor painting of the four-leaf clover from her pocket, shoving them into my hand. Look, this is your drawing. Cape Cod, 12 years ago. You saved me. How could I have mistaken? How could I? The boy in the blue clothes in the photo is indeed me. That summer camp, that drowning little girl, the four-leaf clover casually given away. The memory suddenly became clear. Is it you? I asked in confusion. It's me, she replied urgently. I silently finished reading and returned the item to her. But it's already in the past. Is there really a need for this? Sophia froze, as if she hadn't expected this reaction. You don't understand? Her voice trembled. I've been looking for you for 10 years. The one I've loved has always been you. I just mistook. Miss Sophia, I interrupted her. You don't truly love anyone. The one you love has always been the perfect ideal in your imagination. Whoever isn't by your side is perfect, and when they return to you, the illusion shatters. Gregory is exactly such an example. No, that's not true. She murmured as if struck by lightning, staggering backward. I calmly looked at her, at this woman who had made me grovel for 3 years, now looking utterly disheveled. Even if the person in the photo really is me, I was also the person back then. I said word by word, so what? In the past 3 years, the person you paid for was Gregory Miller, not Ethan Johnson. Now, who do you really like, the little boy who saved you back then, or the perfect image you only realize you lost after it's gone? Sophia's lips trembled, unable to utter a single word. Go back, I said, turning around. Ethan, she suddenly rushed up and hugged me from behind. Please, give me one more chance. I can give up everything. I was stunned. I didn't expect proud Sophia to act like this. I pried her hand open and said, You're wrong, Miss Sophia. Not everything can be bought back with money. The door closed, and I heard her heart-wrenching sobs as she knelt in the rain. Luna stood in the shadow of the entrance, her expression unfriendly. Not regret it? She asked. Someone so delicate confessing to you. She can't tell what's real and what's fake, but I can. What she always likes are the unattainable white moons in reality, even if the white moon herself can't compare. Outside the window, Sophia staggered away, her figure gradually swallowed by the rain. After Sophia left, the room fell into a long silence. I stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window, raindrops falling on the glass, blurring everything outside. I didn't expect that I really am her original. I bitterly tugged at the corner of my mouth. Too bad I'm expired. Since that's the case, if she can say it, so can I. Footsteps came from behind, and Luna came over, domineeringly grabbing my hand. Come with me. What kind of riddle is this again? Luna took me up to the 3rd floor and stopped in front of the door at the end of the hallway that was always locked. Didn't Assistant Parker say that no one is allowed to enter this room? I asked in confusion. That's them, Luna said, looking at me. Aren't you different? I was even more puzzled. Ready to see my secret? She looked back at me, her face actually starting to blush. The door opened. Then my world spun wildly. The walls were covered with pictures of me. The award certificate from the speech contest when I was 17, the gold medal from the high school sports meet, the doodles I casually drew in my textbooks, and even the shell bracelet I gave to that little girl at summer camp, ridiculously rough, yet carefully displayed in a crystal box. I was stunned. Luna walked to the wall, her fingertips gently brushing over a yellowed photograph. In the picture, a little girl with a ponytail tightly clutched the sleeve of a boy in blue, both smiling brightly at the camera. Do you recognize me now? She asked softly. The floodgates of memory burst open. The salty sea breeze of Cape Cod, the girl who always peeked at my drawings during art class, and the day of parting. Are you leaving? The little girl tugged at my backpack strap, her eyes red-rimmed. Yeah, my dad's job is being transferred. I casually tore off a piece of drawing paper and handed it to her. I'm giving you this. The four-leaf clover will bring you good luck. She clenched the drawing paper, suddenly stood on tiptoe, and kissed me on the cheek. When I grow up, I'll come find you. Luna Martinez. My throat tightened. That little girl, is that you? She didn't answer, just took a diary from the desk drawer and flipped to a certain page. Childlike handwriting came into view. Year, X month, X day, X sunny. Today, Ethan protected me again. Wang Lei and the others laughed at my ugly drawings. So Ethan taught me how to draw a four-leaf clover. He's the most amazing person in the world. When I grow up, I definitely want to marry him. There are obvious water stains spreading on the paper, as if it had been wet by tears countless times. I've been looking for you for 12 years, Luna said. In middle school, I heard you transfer to Los Angeles. In high school, I secretly went to watch your school sports day. In college, she suddenly laughed. You definitely don't remember, but once you fell asleep in the library and I covered you with my coat. I suddenly looked up. That was you? She nodded, tears finally falling. Hiring you was fake. The contract was fake, but every trait of the white moonlight, she stepped closer, her fingertip touching my chest, is real. Because the one I was looking for has always been Ethan Johnson. The rain outside the window had stopped at some unknown time, and the moonlight poured in through the sheer curtains. I reached out to wipe away her tears, suddenly realizing that my own hand was trembling. So, those acting requirements? They were all your true self. She stood on tiptoe and whispered close to my ear, twisting a pen with your left hand, liking mint candy, always drawing four-leaf clovers in the bottom right corner. Ethan, the only thing you acted wrong was thinking you were a stand-in. The world was terrifyingly silent at this moment. After all that, I ended up substituting myself? This is fucking ridiculous. Luna Martinez, I paused. I just said, the destructive power of a white moonlight is so great that even the white moonlight herself can't be matched. Actually, I'm not that good. After spending a long time together, without the filter, you'll realize that I'm no longer. Don't say it, I know. She covered my lips with her finger. I've always been watching the you of now, not just the past. She stared at me blankly, pouted, and slowly closed her eyes. Then I kissed her. 3 months later, I found a postcard sent by Sophia in Luna's study. Paris is beautiful, perfect for forgetting some things. Wishing you happiness. On the back was a sunset by the Seine River, and a sketch of a four-leaf clover blurred by rain. Should I put it away? Luna wrapped her arms around my waist from behind. I shook my head and threw the postcard into the trash can, saying no need. Outside the window, the spring sunshine was bright, and the diamond ring on her ring finger sparkled in the sunlight. Who says a stand-in can't become the real deal? When the person who loves you has always been yourself.